All right, what's up, everybody? Welcome to G.W.R. Gonzo's Wrestling Room. We got a big show today. Tony's with us like as usual. Got a special guest, Manager of the Year, the director of Hollywood House is with us today. How you doing, man?
Man, I'm doing good. Always great to come back and chat up with my boys here at G.W.R. My man Chris, the OG Tony. Happy to be back.
Great.
Oh yeah, we're happy to have you. We've been trying to get this together for a little while.
Man, a while.
We've both been so busy, it's hard to get our schedules to match up.
No doubt. I'm glad we finally did it.
Go ahead, Dad.
Oh, I'm fine. Just listening.
Hey, well, let's start with what you've been having going on. I know you've been busy. I've seen you on TV, on OVW.
Yes, man.
Seen you out chilling in Vegas and putting people in trunks.
Man, we had a blast over in Vegas, man. That was my first out-of-state booking with Sam Knight, the enforcer of Household Productions, and the World Star Paragon, the World Star of Household Productions. And man, we had a really good time. Like I said, it was my first out-of-state booking. And it was also my first 3-show loop. I'd never done 3 shows in a row like that before. And it for me personally, it really showed me what these guys and girls do to, just to have a chance to try to get to the show. You know what I'm saying? When I say the show, I mean the AEWs, the NWAs, the Impacts, the Ring of Honors, the WWE, of course. Doing that 3-show loop, I mean, I loved it and I really enjoyed it, but boy, it really did take a lot out of me though.
How did it feel? How did it feel when you came through that curtain in Vegas, being like your first big show out of state, like you're talking, and you get a good reaction from the crowd? That had to be a great feeling.
Yeah, you know what, Chris? Like, okay, let me just put it to you like this: like, if there's one thing that's usually not in the director's like vocabulary, is self-doubt. Like I don't really, there's not a whole lot of self-doubt, but for a split second, I was like, okay, I'm outside of Indiana. I'm outside of home base here. These people don't really know who I am, so it was awe-inspiring for me personally to get that reaction that I wanted when I was out there in Vegas, because I absolutely did. But it also let me know that I can do this director thing. I can take my act and I can do it anywhere and people are going to get it. And I think that just meant a lot for me personally.
Oh, I bet. Yeah. How's the crowds out there?
The crowd, it's okay. So it was Versus Pro Studio. I got to make sure I give them their love. Versus Pro really took care of me when I was out there and made sure that I had stuff to do there. Even if you guys didn't see me ringside next to either Paragon or Sam, you saw me at you saw me over on commentary. So that was kind of 2 birds with 1 stone. It was great to not only say that I went out to Vegas and managed, but I also went out to Vegas and did commentary too. But the crowds were real receptive. It was a What it was like a cosplay event, like a gaming tournament cosplay event. So like the new generation of wrestling fans, that's really what you saw out there at this younger and like geeky, nerdy, that type of vibe, but it was good, and they responded to myself, Sam, and Paragon really well. It was a blast. It was definitely different than the Midwestern crowds, but not in a bad way, just in a different way.
Jordan James said, "Yo, House, when do I get to utilize your services? I can protect you from the right hand."
You know what, Jordan James, we were just talking about him a little bit before the show went on the air, and man, he is such a underappreciated talent in my eyes. Like, the dude just gets it. He knows how to work a crowd. I think he's going to be there this Saturday with us. We'll talk a little bit about that when you guys are ready to. But man, just holler at me, bro. We'll get together. You know what I mean? I'm a fan of Jordan James. I want to make that public here on GWR. I'm a fan of Jordan James.
Yeah, I agree 100%. I've been saying the same thing as you. He's not appreciated enough. He should be getting booked on a lot more shows and other places than what he does.
Yeah.
I mean, he's a great heel, man. He knows how to work the crowd. He's fun to watch.
I've seen it firsthand, and it's a joy to watch him work.
And I think he gets, every time we see him, I actually think he's getting better.
Well,
and
that's what
you see it.
That's what we want to do, right?
Yep.
Like, every outing we want to be better than the last time. So like, I don't want to not give him his praise and say that that's not great, but it's what he should be doing as a talent as well, is that's getting better every single time that he's going out there. And I think that's what we're seeing. So definitely I commend my boy for that. And yeah, Jordan James, you guys need to be watching those Jordan James matches for real. When you see him share a poster or a flyer, try to make it a point to go see what my man is doing.
Then Juice Incredible said, "Big time Hollywood."
Juice Incredible, he runs the In Your House Facebook page and is the mind behind a lot of the graphics and stuff that you see that I put out and stuff. Like, he's somebody that really flies under the radar in terms of like what he does is really like off air, off screen, backstage stuff, as far as and it's something that we've heard the Ultimate Warrior talk about. We also heard the Undertaker talk about it. And that's give props and love to people in the professional wrestling business that aren't on camera all the time, that aren't on screen all the time, the ones that are producing things in the background. And that's not just at WWE. That's not just at AEW. That's independent professional wrestling too. That's the people that are ringing the bell, the people that are designing posters, the people that are designing match graphics, all that stuff. So like, shout out to Juice Incredible, because it just really speaks to me personally, speaks to me, the work that he's putting in. I've known him for years, so it's great to see him finally catching some wins.
And Jordan James said, "My dude, look for that letter in the mail bag or in the mail, big dog."
My man. Hopefully I'll be seeing you Saturday. If that's the case, then we won't have to wait.
So other than what about OVW? How was that experience? We talked quite a bit about Vegas, but I know OVW had to be cool.
Okay, so I'm Chris OG. I'm gonna be straight up with y'all. I was waiting to do this specific show, Gonzo's Wrestling Room, to talk about this in depth. I didn't even talk about it in depth on In Your House, because like In Your House is more like geared towards the talent, like in-ring talent and stuff like that, and reviewing shows. And so I tried not to make it a point to talk too much about myself on my own show, because that just I don't know, it's just off-putting to me, So I was waiting to come here to, a show that I've come on before and had a lot of great moments on before, to talk about this great moment. And I got to tell you, man, doing OVW was something that I never imagined in a million years that I would do when I started doing In Your House 3 years ago. That was never the goal. I'll be honest, that was never the goal when I started. I pretty much started the way you guys started. I just wanted to talk wrestling with my homies and record it, and maybe something will come of it, but the actually doing OVW was just insane in so many different ways. First off, just getting booked. I was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I'm about to do OVW. It blew my mind. And then like I kept telling myself, how many people have walked through those hollowed halls? How many people have represented that brand at one point or another? Because as we all know, at some point, OVW was WWE's developmental territory.
Yes.
Yep.
So you had your Mickey Jameses that came through there. You had your Batistas, you had your Shelton Benjamins, you had your John Cenas. I mean, the Elijah Burks. You had your just so much an eclectic group of talent that went on and ended up having Hall of Fame caliber careers and many championships in many different promotions, not just the WWE. So to go there and say, hey, Hollywood House is good enough to be considered for OVW was huge. And then when you actually get there and you see all the pictures on the wall of people that have represented that brand, and then having a chance to sit down and have a one-on-one with Al Snow, like critiquing the match and everything that me and Sam had done. Shout out to Sam, because you guys really don't understand how much Sam sacrifices just for Hollywood House to be Hollywood House. Like straight up, he really does. So like to be able to get him a television appearance was great. To be appearing on TV was great. And you know, it was just it was almost like a whirlwind, because it took me like a few days to really process what I had done. And it's one of the shining moments of my life. I'm not kidding. I'm not joking around. I'm not overshooting it here. Doing OVW was one of the shining moments of my life, because it was one of those things that first off let me know that I've arrived as a professional wrestling manager. But second off, it let me know that I was good enough to be there, because even after what we did was done, there was, I'll just put it out here right now, there was handset bringing Hollywood House and Sam Knight back to OVW. So that's makes me feel good to know not only did I get an opportunity to go to OVW, one of the most prestigious brands, one of the most prestigious developmental brands in the United States. Not only that, but also go there and be good enough to say, hey, at some point, we want you back. So it was great. It was one of the greatest things I've ever done in my entire life. And like, straight up shout out to Al Snow. Shout out to Doug Basham. Doug Basham was our agent. You guys remember the Basham brothers?
Yep.
From WWE. He was the agent on our match. He was great. Shout out to Sam Knight, and shout out to Elijah Burke, because you know, in a lot of situations, there's a lot of people out here that's working hard. They're working hard just to get these type of opportunities. But I'll be honest, you know, me being a professional wrestling manager and not an in-ring talent, you know, it in a lot of cases, and I'll just be 100% honest, it's not about what you know, it's about who you know. So thank you to Elijah Burke for curating that situation for me, and I'm happy to say that I don't think I hurt the Elijah Burke brand that he put on me by going there and having a good outing and being able to say at some point we'll be back.
How's it dealing with an agent? I mean, we've been on the independent scene. You don't necessarily have agents. You got promoters.
Yeah.
And, how's that dealing with an agent? How's that differ? And how'd you like doing that?
Well, it was different. Don't get me wrong, like it was different, but also I understand that the reason that I was there was to learn how to work TV. Like, and this is exactly what OVW is doing. I don't want to talk too much on their behalf, but I'm just coming from my perspective that it feels like what they're doing is they're teaching you how to work TV, and they're grooming the next generation of sports entertainers. Oh, I said a bad word. I said a bad word, but that's what it feels like. They're breeding the next generation of sports entertainers. So yeah, having a agent was different, but not in a bad way. He's just there to kind of make sure that, like, hey, it's like having a third eye, because when you are in the independent locker rooms, it's just the two wrestlers talking about what they're gonna do. But because there's so much more at stake besides just the people that are in the house, you have to think about, oh, we have to make sure you're running 8 to 10 minutes because our next commercial break is in 8 to 10 minutes. It's going to be at this time.
Yeah.
So I understand why having an agent is so important. And really, it was an easy time. Doug Basham, to be my very first agent, made it very easy on me, easy to understand, easy to work with. I didn't hate it. I enjoyed it, actually. I think it enhanced the match.
Yeah. I think the agents probably give you what? They probably give you like certain points. I mean, they probably don't tell you every single thing to do.
Yeah,
But,
no, it's not everything. And
yeah.
there was a lot of times where Basham was like, hey, you don't have to do this. If you want to tweak it, we could do it this way that suits you. So yeah, it's not like they're just pounding in an itinerary in your head.
Yeah. Yeah, I knew that would be different because, like I said, on the independents, I know. Well, we've been to a couple shows, and we actually was in a meeting, been to a couple meetings where the promoter's talking to the talent, and basically, well, there's one particular one. I won't say who it is because I don't want, they may not want us to say. They just said that, hey, you guys do your match. He said, I'm not going to even tell you, get on to you on time. Try to watch it. He said, if I tell you 6 minutes, you're not going to go 6 minutes. You're going to go longer. Just be respectful of the other talent on the show. Don't go crazy.
Yeah.
Basically, do what you want. Told them who they wanted, to go over, and that was pretty much it. I mean, the meeting takes maybe 5 or 10 minutes, and it's real laid back. It's kind of interesting. I'm sure not all independents are ran that way, but he pretty much let Wrestler. You put the match together. You do what you want. Make it make sense, and
Yes, I'm not going to give you a time limit because you're not going to stick to it anyway.
Yep. That's kind of the mindset, is that it's like, we're going to give you a time limit, but we don't expect you to stick to it. So it's kind of like messing with your head there, because it's like, hey, we're going to tell you 8, expecting you to go 10. You know what I'm saying?
Well, one thing they did this particular show, they after once you got to 5 minutes, and it was 15-minute time limit, they announced that the match went 5 minutes. So giving them to know where they're at,
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
When we got to 10 minutes, they was letting them know, where they're at. That way that person could decide when they wanted to go home or not, so.
For sure. And on top of that, not to interrupt, I'm sorry, but on top of that, I think when you have those time limit announcements for the crowd too, you know what I'm saying? Like, oh, okay, this could possibly go to a draw. So it's like, I feel like announcing those time limits is a win-win for the talent and even for the crowd too, because it actually creates like a little story within the match. Like, okay, now they got to hurry up and try to get that pinfall,
Yeah. Old school NWA, watching it, back in the 80s, watching Georgia Championship, and then watching NWA. I mean, they always give the time, always did.
Yeah,
and
it creates that tension.
You had a lot of time. You had a lot of time limit draws on those shows. A lot of them were 10 minutes. Back then, they did a lot of 10-minute matches.
Yeah.
But one thing, if I can remember, because I switched on it. I would imagine it's hard when you're out there in the ring, whether being a manager or wrestlers, that you could lose time real quick. I mean, you could think, hey, well, we've only been out here 5 minutes, and you've been out there 10 minutes. Yeah, I mean, because I would think time would be.
I got to tell you, like, being an in-ring personality, even just being a manager, like, I've never felt more alive than I have when I'm out there and through the curtain, because I'm not thinking about anything else except for, okay, I got to entertain the crowd. Okay, I got to make sure that I know when this next move happens, because once this specific move happens, this is when I got to jump up on the apron, or this is when I got to distract the ref, so I got to be conscious of whatever move that they're calling, because they'll tell you, be like, okay, we might hit a shining wizard, or it might be an enziguri. After that enziguri or shining wizard, hit the apron, hurry up. And it's like, there's so much that you got to think about. So yeah, losing time could easily happen.
Yeah. And the time that you're going to take could also vary on because if you have the crowd eating out of your hands, you're going to keep going a little bit longer. You're not just going to end it if the crowd's really into it.
Oh yeah, when the crowd is hot, there's sometimes when you do have to like call an audible there and be like, okay, this crowd is hotter than what I expect, so let's try to go a little bit longer to kind of cap this off. Or there might be some times when you expect the crowd to be hot and they're not hot, so it's like, all right, let's kind of go home with this because they're already tired. So like, it's just, you got to feel it. This is what Elijah tells me all the time. You got to feel it. You got to know. And it's not something like, it's not ABC, because that was one of the mistakes I was making when I first started, was like, I was just looking at everything as a formula. Like, okay, they're going to go out there. We're going to go to the ring, get to the ring. A few moves are going to happen. Then, okay, after this certain move, I'm going to jump up on the apron and do this. Like, it's cool to try to have everything and think about it as a formula. But like when you're out there, it's very much not a formula. It's very much just feeling it and going with it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Okay. After OVW, I know, what have you done any other shows since OVW?
You know, I pulled up on WTF, that's Wrestling Theology Fellowship. I wasn't booked for that show, but I didn't go there trying to get booked. I went there because, once again, and I know we'll have this talk even deeper, the whole sports entertainment aspect to professional wrestling. I have been doing the sports entertainment aspect to, like, before Chris Jericho said it and everybody went nuts, when he said it on AEW and everybody went nuts. Now the new wave is, oh, sports entertainment is not such a bad word after all because Jericho said it. Like, I was doing that before the fact. So there, like, I really just went there to like film some footage and keep some of the stories going with me and Sam and Paragon and the twins. I very much pride myself in filming. I'm the director, you know what I'm saying? So I very much pride myself in filming footage and teaching these young cats that, like, hey, like, it's great that you can do that 450. It's great that you can do that tope suicida, but that's not what people are remembering. What people are remembering are the stories, and that's what's gonna really remember, because you can do 500 450s, and they'll if there's a story to it, they're gonna remember the story over that. So I pride myself in closing that gap between independent wrestling and sports entertainment, even if it's on a smaller scale.
Yeah, and we actually saw you at that WTF show.
Yeah.
I actually want to give you a shout out for that, because you stood there probably 35, 40 minutes after the show just talking to us about different things. So
for sure,
I always appreciate that, because you've helped us out a lot since we've got this started.
Yep.
Oh, well, you guys have done the same for me, just bringing me on, like opening up the platform for me to come on anytime I want to and talk about anything. So like, I'm always happy to help you guys out. You guys, I mean, and another thing, you guys are one of the few, and there's people that ask me all the time for advice and help and stuff in terms of podcasting, because that's how I, like, even though I've switched gears and became a commentator and then switched gears again and became a manager, like I cut my teeth and got into this business through podcasting. So people ask me all the time and ask for advice about podcasting, but they don't always listen. And honestly, a lot of them don't last. You guys have been able to last. So like, I'll always help you guys any way I can.
We appreciate that. Let's talk about this weekend show, and then we'll get into the sports entertainment.
Sure.
Got a big show this weekend. It's a fundraiser for the Muncie Wrestling Club.
Yes.
DCCW Bearcat Rumble 2.
Yeah.
I know the director is going to be there.
Yes, man. I'm super excited for this show. This is my first DCCW show since Vegas, since OVW. So this is great for the Muncie crowd. And I talk a whole lot of mess to the Muncie crowd. Like, that's just part of who I am. But deep down, I got a lot of love for Muncie, because Muncie accepted the director. Muncie accepted Hollywood House. Muncie accepted In Your House. They're just getting a different carnation of that now, because when I first started cutting my teeth there and doing this and doing commentary and stuff, I was an uber baby face. People love to see me. Now they can't stand my ass. So and that's okay, because I want to create that stark contrast between characters, so that way they can enjoy Hollywood House on a completely different level. I don't ever want to be one-dimensional. So it's great, because the DCCW crowd that has been behind me since day one is now going to see a more evolved and a different director, and I'm really excited to do that, on top of give back to the Muncie Wrestling Club and whatnot. We're gonna have some great names in the house. We're gonna have Carlito. We're gonna have Epico and Primo. Rikishi's gonna be back once again. It's always a good time when Rikishi comes to Muncie. So I'm really excited. On top of the great talent that we're gonna see, we're gonna see my boys, the realest tag team in the universe, the DCCW Tag Team Champions, and of course that's the highlight reel. Dex is gonna be there. It's just going to be a great. Rachel's going to be there. She's just coming off a girl fight. Rachel stock is going through the roof. That young lady is super talented, and she's definitely going places. So you guys want to be in Muncie? If anybody listening to this, watching this, you guys want to be in Muncie, because it's going to be a great show, and it's for a really great cause. So come check it out, show. We're going to have a lot of fun.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to the highlight reel and Epico and Primo match. I think that's going to be great.
I think it's going to be fantastic.
And then getting to see Carlito, that's going to be cool.
It's going to be cool. That's going to be cool.
You guys, some great young talent, like I said, G.W.R and highlight reel. I believe Blake Money Wright's going to be there also.
Oh, I love Blake. He's a great kid.
Unfortunately, there was a couple guys who were going to be on the show and got injured.
Logan Myers,
Brody Botkins, and Logan Myers both got injured, but
and Botkins is going to make his DCCW debut.
It's going to be his debut.
That sucks, because I've been hearing about him for a while, and I was finally going to be able to meet him.
Yeah,
he's good. He's impressive, especially for a big dude. But yeah, he broke a bone in his leg.
Yeah,
down toward the ankle.
Yeah.
Always hate to hear stuff like that. This is why we say, y'all, give it up for those people that put their body on the line for all of our entertainment, even mine too, because even though I'm very much a manager and a commentator and a sports entertainer, I'm still a fan, and I'll always be a fan. So they're putting their body on the line for my entertainment too. So just keep that in mind. Everybody out there listening to this great podcast here, keep that in mind. They're doing a lot just to take you guys away from your everyday problems for 2 or 3 hours, so you got respect, you know what I'm saying? I
know Brody had surgery yesterday, and from what I hear, everything went well. So
okay, that's good.
Hopefully he'll have a speedy recovery and be back in the ring, because man, he's impressive.
Yeah,
I think he could go far in this business.
I haven't got a chance to see him in person, but I've definitely seen clips here and there, and I'm excited to see a full length Boydie Boykins match for real. I'm very excited. I wish it could have been this Saturday, but speedy recovery to my man. Get well. That's the most important thing. Get healthy. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
And I think Logan dislocated his elbow, did he?
Yep.
Yeah, dislocated his elbow, so probably out a couple of months, I would imagine.
Yeah, and I love Loud and Proud. You know what I'm saying? I think that he's a super talented young cat. He's got a great look, and I've shared locker rooms with him a couple times. He's a good kid too. So It sucks, but just once again, same thing with Boykins. Just worry about getting healthy right now. Professional wrestling is still going to be there when you guys come back. Just get healthy and get well, because that's what we want. We want you guys to be the best that you guys can possibly be, because a lot of these young cats are going to go far. We have to really put ourselves in the mindset that a lot of these young cats that we're here at these indie shows, this is the talent that we can see on TV in a year, 2 years, 3 years, enjoy them while they're here, because it's about to cost a lot of money to see them on a regular basis once they get to that next level. So that's the beautiful thing about independent professional wrestling, is because it's the most ground floor you can get when it comes to catching a talent firsthand.
Yeah. Again, so the people know, the show is this Saturday, correct? And it's at Muncie Central. Doors open at 6. Wrestling starts at 7. I believe the front row tickets are gone. They were $20, but they're all gone. And there's plenty still, because Central's Gym's a big place, so there's going to be plenty of tickets available at the door for general admission. Only $10 to see all this great talent. So you're not going to be able to beat that. So hopefully the fans will come out and support the kids and support this great show.
You enter through door 11, which is in the back of the school, and that takes you right to the gymnasium.
Come on, y'all. Come on. Come to the show.
If you need tickets, I have tickets. Just contact me on the Gonzo Sports Room social media or my personal social media. I'll get back with you. You can get them at Greek's Pizzeria in Muncie, Aaron's in Anderson, Hollywood Salon in Muncie, Jared Bird, Terry Coons.
Byrider, I
Yeah,
believe.
Byrider.
Yep.
If you go get a car at Byrider and you tell them DCCW sent you, you get
$1,000 off. Yeah.
Not enough car. Yeah.
Hey, you
And,
can't really beat that.
Greek's Pizzeria has some great coupons on the flyers that they put on every box when you order a pizza. So, I mean, there's a lot of good sponsors out there as well that help put this event on.
Oh yeah, and like we do it for the love of wrestling in all forms. Like that's what's so great about this show, honestly, because like we love WWE, we love AEW, we love the MLWs, the Triple A's, NWA's, Impacts. We love the we love the DCCWs, we love the Emerges, we love the Warrior Pros, we love the Heroes and Legends. But like also understand that like we love our amateur wrestlers too. We love our amateur wrestlers too. It's not just we don't just limit it to pro wrestling and the theatrical professional wrestling that we love to see on Saturdays, some Sundays, some Fridays, and also on on TV on Mondays, Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. We love we love our young cats that are staying out of trouble, our young kids that are staying out of trouble and wrestling it for their school, and doing it, because they could have a chance to do it at a collegiate level at some point, but like we got to support them as well, because there's a million terrible things that these kids could be doing besides getting on the mat and getting down and dirty and doing it for the love of amateur wrestling. So at the core, support professional wrestling at its very purest form by coming to this show on Saturday.
And with collegiate sports, it's really starting to go into the sports entertainment with WWE.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
They're signing all kinds of people, basketball players, track, also wrestlers, of course, Gable Stevenson. But there's a kid here from, I don't know if you know or not, he's from Indiana, grew up. He was a state champion, and he wrestles for Michigan. He's a heavyweight. He was an All-American. His name's Mason Paris. He's also signed with WWE.
Really? Yes. No, I didn't know that. See, that proves my point.
We watched him wrestle. We watched him wrestle all through high school.
Yeah. We known him as a little kid. We wrestled for some teams with my grandson Austin, Chris's son. They wrestled on some of the same little kid teams. And he's always, back then he always wanted to be in the WWE.
Yeah,
so something that it was a dream of his, and it's coming through.
Especially with this name and likeness rules now, where you can make money, off your name now.
Yep.
So that's going to help these others, because basketball and football are the main sports in college.
Yeah.
But with this name and likeness, I think it's going to help like your sports like wrestling and stuff grow, because now more money is going to be getting put into them programs.
Yep.
Because you're going to have boosters that are wrestling fans that want to see that team succeed. So they're going to help that. They're going to help recruiting wise, make sure they get who they need. So I think it's going to help some of the small, not maybe the real small schools, but some of your major schools really up their level.
Oh yeah, I'm happy to hear it. It just proves my point that this is the most ground floor that you can be when it comes to wrestling of all kinds, whether it be amateur or even professional. This is the most ground floor that you can be. That's why like I'm so happy to be in the role that I am. And like, it's great for me to be able to help some of these young talent, because like you get like, you guys already know there's plenty of places, 1151 Kentucky Avenue. You can go to learn how to wrestle. You know what I'm saying? There's definitely, you can learn how to wrestle. But also it's important to learn how to sports entertain too, because that's exactly what these next level companies are looking for, is people who are going to be able to tell you a story. Yes, the wrestling is important, and I will never take that away. At the end of the day, it's all about what happens in the ring. But at the end of the day, if you want to go to that next level, if you want to, because if you want to go to those OVWs, which OVWs open up your NWAs and Impacts, which opens up your Ring of Honors and your MLWs, which obviously opens up your AEWs. You got to learn how to hold a crowd by telling a story as well. It's so important. Never discrediting the wrestling. I will never ever do that. But also there's a place in wrestling for telling stories, and it's not just because Chris Jericho said so. It's because it's always really been that way.
Yeah, well, perfect example is you was there at the seminar with Ricky Morton,
Oh yeah, great seminar.
Great seminar, and I mean, it was just little simple stuff, showing how to put a headlock and showing all the crowd and working the cameras, just stuff like that made perfect sense that a lot of people probably don't think about.
Yeah.
And well, you was a part of the match with the Rock and Roll Express and the highlight reel. Rock and Roll Express didn't pull out. I mean, these guys are 66 years old.
Yeah.
They didn't pull out, bunch of crazy moves or drop kicks, or even, I mean, they did very little in the ring other than work the crowd, and you've seen how that crowd was.
Exactly, it was a hot crowd, and that doesn't even take away from the fact that Ricky Morton, even at his age, could still do a tope suicida.
Yeah.
We've seen it, but that night in Muncie, it was not necessary. It was not necessary. That crowd was hooked. That crowd was hooked the minute that those guys walked through that curtain and worked that crowd. And that's why I wanted to make sure I did my part in the opening promo by calling them out and telling them, hey, if you guys don't come out here and take the highlight reel seriously, rock and roll is going to absolutely die. I wanted to help tell that story at least for that night, and because I could have easily just been like, let's just do the match, rock and roll's gonna hook the crowd themselves, but no, I wanted to contribute to them being the babyface by making sure that the highlight reel were the heelest of heels, even as much as I could for that night. So like, I know you guys did. I know I did. I never want to stop learning, but that Ricky Morton seminar was super pivotal and important for me personally, because it let me know that a man that is, well into his 60s, well into his old age, can still get booked at GCW, can still get booked at MLW, can still get booked at NWA. He's tagging up with his son Kerry, who's got a bright future ahead of him. That was game right there. If anybody that's in the business that listens to this podcast that didn't make it to that, I'm sorry, but you guys really missed out, because I learned a lot.
I tell everybody, if you ever get a chance to go to a seminar at the Rock and Roll Express, you better go.
Oh yeah.
I mean, even us is doing commentary. I learned a lot.
Yep.
And he was personable. I mean, he'd come over, talk to you.
Oh yeah.
And give you. I mean, he would critique you, but it was. I don't know. They were real personable.
I love the critique. It gives me opportunity to know how to get better.
But one thing I wanted to hit on that Central show real quick before we move on is that that Central show, it's a benefit show. All the money, ticket sales, concessions, everything goes to the wrestling club.
Yep.
Wrestling club. So come support. The more people that come, the more money that we raise for these kids.
Yeah,
I know last year. I know this year, off the money they raised last year, this wrestling team was able to buy some wrestlers some shoes that needed them, some new headgear, being able to take kids to some off-season tournaments.
Yeah.
So this stuff, it really helps the program grow.
We want to give these kids an opportunity to be the best that they can be by having the best gear that they can get. They don't need to be wrestling in old gear, by being able to sign up for these tournaments and get seen more by colleges and whatnot. It all helps. So like, come out and have a great time and know that you're doing a good thing for the Muncie community by helping these kids mold their future.
It sucks, but there's some kids, their parents can't afford to buy them the new wrestling shoes or that new thing.
Yeah.
So I mean, this raises money where hell, if they wanted to, they could almost buy shoes for everybody and like have team shoes and everybody have the same kind, or and then that, you know what I mean? And then you don't have somebody feeling left out or having less, So I mean, it just helps. Well, one thing before we talk about sports entertainment, back to the Rock and Roll Express.
Yeah.
How great of an experience was it to get to work with the guys like that? So I had the opportunity to go backstage and talk to them and stuff, man. And even at the seminar, they were real, like I said, they were real personable. They didn't just overlook you. When they were talking to you, they were talking to you. They weren't talking to you because you were there. You know what I mean? He made you feel like, hey, I'm listening to you.
Yeah.
So I really enjoyed it.
I enjoyed it too. And like being able to share that moment in the ring with them is something that I'll always remember, because, they're former 8-time NWA World Tag Team Champions, and the NWA, one of the most prestigious brands in the entire world. I mean, it's the oldest wrestling company in the entire world, and he's still there all the time. And also he's over there in Chuckey, Tennessee, and he produces his own show every Sunday, The School of Morton, and he's once again, just like OVW's doing, developing and teaching the next, line of sports entertainers and wrestlers, so like he's giving back to the business. And that's what when you are in a position like a Ricky Morton, to be able to give back to the business, like you got to do it, because like wrestling doesn't really owe us anything. Wrestling doesn't have to give us anything. And I think that's that's a mindset that's lost on a lot of these young cats. And I'm not bashing on the young cats. I'm not bashing them. I just wish that they understood a little bit more that wrestling doesn't really owe us anything. We got to go out and get it ourselves. Even me at 35 years old, I didn't want to be looked at as a manager or a talent or a sports entertainer that's just local. That's why I took it upon myself to go to Vegas. That's why I took it upon myself to accept that opportunity to be able to go to OVW. I want to be in a position to, if somebody asks me for advice, I can speak from a place of somebody that's been somewhere. Yeah. So I want to be able to help these young cats. That's why this is what a lot of people don't get. Like the things that I do. Yeah, it's great for me personally as a brand. It's great for Hollywood House. It's great for Household Productions. But also I have dreams myself to eventually start up a school, when I get to that point, and have trainers that can teach you how to wrestle, and I can teach you how to cut a promo and teach you how to tell a story, and also become a promoter and be a reputable promoter of somebody that's gonna be like, hey, are you working the Hollywood House show? Oh, that's a good show to work. That's a good promotion. He runs a good promotion, and the only way that I can do that is by going and learning from these veterans of the game, from these minds of the business. So like to share that ring with them, to share those moments with them backstage. And like you said, super personable. Both guys super personal back there, cracking jokes, having a good time, and like they're older cats, so I don't want to say every joke that they said, but they're great. Like they're good. You can tell they're good, solid people, so like it was just awesome. I like this journey has just been incredible. And like when it's my time to give back and actually start a promotion, which is what I really want to do at some point. I want to do it from a place of somebody that's been somewhere. And I want these young wrestlers, when I'm promoting in my 40s and 50s, I want these young wrestlers that are in their 20s and late 20s and early 30s to say, oh yeah, I want to work that Hollywood House show for sure. I got to get on that show. I want to be one of those reputable promoters,
Yep. All right, we've been talking a lot about the sports entertainment. Let's get into that, because you have this younger fan base. For some reason they're all about the flips, which is fine. But like we were talking earlier, if there's no story, it really don't mean nothing.
For sure. Yeah, no, and we talked about it. We actually started to get into a real deep conversation before we went on the air. Then Chris was like, oh, hold on, stop. We got to stop. Yeah. We got to make sure, because we're going to say all this stuff before the cameras go on, and then nobody's going to hear it. So I'm glad that you did do that. But like I was saying before we went on air, I truly believe that a good story, a juicy story, can make a 4-star match into a 5-star match, a 3-star match into a 4.5-star match. Hell, even a 2-star match into at least a 4-star match. Like these stories are important. So like, and it's because the big evil WWE said, don't say professional wrestling, say sports entertainers. It was coined as a derogatory, inflammatory type term, but it's not. And it never was. Just because you heard Jericho say it a few weeks ago with the Jericho Appreciation Society doesn't mean that it's suddenly okay to say. It's been okay the whole time. Because what is sports entertainment? Oh, that's right. It's making the sports entertaining.
Yeah.
You're gonna get great feats of athleticism, the moonsaults, the tope suicidas, the super kicks, which I wish we could see a less of, the Canadian destroyers, which I really wish we could see less of. All of these things, and it's all unnecessary if you just have the right story that is taking this to a whole nother level. You don't have to do all this crazy stuff to hook the crowd if you're telling the story. And honestly, Chris and Tony, the thing that these young cats, these young independent wrestlers, I wish they could understand is that it really only takes like maybe 15 or 20 minutes to just cut a good promo and put it online, because I'm a firm believer, and I'm talking to all you young kids out there. I'm talking to y'all right now. I'm not gonna mention no names because I'm gonna make you guys gonna be like, hit me up in my inbox later, say, oh, well, you was hating on me, Hollywood. No, I'm not hating on you. I'm giving you game. I'm a firm believer that if it didn't happen on the internet, it didn't happen at all. You got to cut these promos. You got to put yourself out there. So like, it just takes a few minutes to tell these stories. And you guys have seen me doing it on my Facebook page, telling stories with Sam. I owe my man money. When is he going to get his money? Like just little stuff like that. Like, it doesn't take that long. You guys are putting a whole lot of time and effort into your craft in ring. Just take a little bit of less time to put that time into your craft and storytelling and entertaining the crowd without having to do a bunch of flips.
Yeah. And the thing of it is, everybody says, well, WWE is sports entertainment. AEW is pro wrestling. AEW is also sports entertainment. Whether they want to admit to it or not. I mean, a lot of their aspects are sports entertainment.
Yep.
Probably the truest pro wrestling program on TV is probably NWA.
Oh yeah. And we see it on a weekly basis. I really love their format where it's like opening promo, match, backstage segment, match, backstage segment again, maybe something on the podium, because I'm a huge fan of the podium. And Tony, I know you're a big fan of the podium because you're probably an old school NWA fan, and I'm not even an old school like NWA fan, but because of who I produce a podcast for, the Pope Elijah Burke, he's like, man, you need to go back and watch this stuff. And I did, and I was like, dang, this shit's good. Like, this is good. Yeah. Like, it's good storytelling. And you really see that on Fight TV at NWA 6:05 p.m. You can catch a replay on YouTube at 6:05 on Fridays. Their Saturday morning show, which is super nostalgic, Saturday afternoon wrestling, NWA USA. And here's what's so special about NWA USA. Not only does it have that nostalgic Saturday afternoon wrestling feel, but you get a chance to see all of their young talent, their junior heavyweight division, their big, strong Mimses, their Darius Lockharts, the junior heavyweight champion himself, Homicide. You get a chance to see all these great young talents, mainly on NWA USA.
Yeah, most definitely. I want to ask you a question while I was thinking of it. I just seen an article, I believe it was yesterday. I'm terrible with names. The owner of NWA.
Oh, yeah, Billy Corgan.
Yeah, he said that he doesn't know for the future, and it kind of makes sense in a way, if a weekly program running 52 weeks a year is the future for wrestling.
Is this take more like maybe an off season?
Well, he's wondering if you should do your show, tape how many episodes, 10, 12, 13.
Yeah.
And release them all at once, like on Netflix or
because people like doing that binge watching.
People like to binge watch. And I sat there and I thought about it. I said, if you give me 13 episodes of 40 minutes of wrestling, I'd watch them all in one day, probably.
Yeah. Me too.
And then you're going to be chopping at the bit, waiting for when they release more.
It makes a lot of sense.
It could work.
That makes sense.
It really does make sense. I think in some forms, like, people like to have that old school feel, like that cliffhanger. Like, there's like, oh, you got to wait a week to see what happens next. I get that, but like, the one thing about Billy Corgan, and that does make sense because that's how people are consuming media now. They consume it by binging it.
He said you do that, and put that out and have it out for a month, 6 weeks, and then give everybody a chance to watch them. Not everybody binges. Give everybody a chance to watch, and then you do your pay-per-view.
That's good. I
And
do
then,
like that.
And then you tape your next 13 episodes or what. I mean, he didn't say how many episodes.
Right.
Tape your next episodes. They binge watch it. Do your next pay-per-view. It makes sense.
But
especially for them, since they don't have a lot of money.
Exactly. But see, here's what I like about it too. Now, here's a special thing about a place like NWA. This is why, once again, I'm making it public that's somewhere that I aspire to go. Because NWA is not like the WWE. WWE is a live show Monday. It's a live show Tuesday. It's a live show Friday. And that is a full-time gig. That's a full-time job. But not all of us that are blessed and fortunate and lucky enough to be a part of this business can give ourselves to, or might not even have the opportunity to give ourselves to a WWE or any wrestling company and travel like on a weekly basis. The special thing about NWA is that when they do these big events, they do these tapings where you have 3 or 4, 5, 6 episodes and this is why it does make sense what Billy Corgan is talking about, because you do those episodes, you do those tapings, then you go back. If you're one of these talents that have a shoot job, then you don't have to sacrifice your shoot job just to be a part of this. All you got to do is take a corner of time, maybe take a few days off in a month or a few days off every couple of months, fly out to wherever you're going to do the pay-per-view, do the tapings, come home, and boom, you just did 3 or 4 weeks worth of episodes, and you don't have to worry about coming back for another month and a half or something. So I think there's definitely something to it. And I honestly think that everybody talks about your Tony Khans, they talk about your Vince McMahons, you know what I mean? But I really think that people really need to be talking about Billy Corgan a little bit more in terms of being a mind as a promoter, because he's really making some great opportunities for not just guys that we saw like during the Ruthless Aggression era and a little bit after that, like my man Pope or Chris Adonis or all these guys, Nick Aldis. He's also creating opportunities for the next generation of talent that can come in and do, like I said, NWA USA, work their way up to NWA Power, and eventually do your Crockett Cups and your big events. I really like considering where NWA was at like 2 or 3 years ago and where it's at now. I really think we got to give Billy Corgan his flowers because he really brought NWA back.
And the thing of it is, the pandemic almost killed him.
It did.
It almost did. I mean, I've listened to every interview he does on Busted Open, and yeah, it almost killed him. So I mean, just the fact that they stayed alive, got a lot of credit
and thriving.
And I know Nick Aldis has been a big part of that too.
Oh yeah,
he's committed 100% to him, and stayed with him. Which he probably had opportunities he could have went elsewhere, maybe AEW or somewhere, and he didn't go.
Yeah.
So he believes in Corgan. And see, originally, Corgan, when they first come up with NWA, he said he thought it was a done deal. They were going to be on the WWE network.
Oh, okay. Was he going to sell the rights off to the WWE and just wash his hands of it?
No. When he started, NWA was going to show their shows were going to be on. They had a deal worked out with WWE.
He's going to do like a licensing deal. He would still own it, but it would air on the
WWE network. Okay, got you.
Something happened and it fell through. Yeah, he thought he had basically a TV, not a TV deal, but he had a deal, and then that fell through, and that's why they end up on YouTube.
Yeah,
and if they would have gone WWE network, man, just think where they would be at right now.
Triple H wanted it because of. He's a big NWA guy. People don't know that. He's a huge NWA guy. And so he wanted it, and he thought it would fit right in because the network owns all the NWA.
Yeah.
So he thought it would fit in perfect, and I don't know what happened, but it fell through.
Especially when you had the NXT Black and Gold. And
yeah.
And if you had a product like NWA on there as well, man, it'd have been great.
Prestigious. And like, how awesome would it have been to have maybe at WrestleMania, SummerSlam, maybe the Royal Rumble, maybe a NXT takeover at Stand and Deliver or something, to see the NWA World Heavyweight Championship, Sweet Charlotte, the 10 pounds of gold, defended on WWE television. That would have been sweet.
I wish they would have done. I think it would have been a cool story, even if she would have lost. If they would have had Mickie James win the Royal Rumble.
Yeah. Oh, that would have been sweet.
And had a match with Charlotte Flair or Becky Lynch. Even if she loses for the title, she might get the NWA title, but she goes, she loses in a great match, 15, 20-minute match. That's not going to hurt the NWA. That's not.
No, it's not. It's going to help them.
So, so I wish they would have done that. I mean, I think the wrestling community would have been talking about it like crazy.
Oh, absolutely.
The other thing it would have done, it would have kind of opened that forbidden door of companies working together.
Yeah.
I mean, I know you've had AEW a little bit, but if a licensing deal like that, that'd be something totally different. I mean, we haven't seen like a WWE do a licensing deal with another wrestling company.
Yeah, and NWA would have been the one to do it with.
Yeah. See, personally, I don't think Impact got much out of that relationship with AEW myself.
That's what a lot of people say. I honestly think that it was better for them to have Mickie James show up at the Royal Rumble with the Impact Women's Championship, and everybody's caught up on who said what. Oh, well, they didn't say Knockout Champion; they just said Impact Women's Champion. You're splitting hairs. Yeah. The title was still on Peacock. This title was still seen in front of thousands of people at the Royal Rumble. Big pop for Mickie James. Big pop for the title.
Yeah.
Yep.
It got to come out to her music and everything. I mean,
I honestly, if I could just say this, I really think that we got to. I mean, and I understand like WWE is not perfect. Trust me, I'm one of the first people that would tell you that WWE is not perfect. But I think we got to like do a little bit of better job of bastardizing them. Because like look at Cody Rhodes, for example. As soon as Cody Rhodes ended up, the rumor started that Cody Rhodes was signing back with WWE. Everybody's like, oh, well, guess he's going to go back to Stardust again. Like, come on. Like, no, like be smarter about the business to know that Cody Rhodes is really a lot smarter than what people give him credit for. And not only did he make it to where he can travel with his family by negotiating to get himself a bus for him and Brandy and their child, you know, he went from a $500,000 talent to a $3 million talent. And what they're buying is they're not buying Stardust. They're not buying the mustache guy. They're not buying the legacy guy. They're buying the American Nightmare. That's what they bought when they signed Cody Rhodes. They bought the American Nightmare brand. And Cody is smart enough about the business to say, hey, I want it in writing that you guys aren't going to do stupid shit with my character. You guys are going to let me be the American Nightmare. And that's exactly what we're seeing. Yeah. And now he's more over than he ever was in AEW.
Yeah. Go ahead, Dad. Yeah, he built that character over 6 years. Whether it was that character evolved for 6 years with AEW, New Japan, and Ring of Honor.
Yep.
He built that character over 6 years, and they would have been fools not to use it. And I mean, they used the music, they used everything. I mean, and people said, "I can't believe on this last interview he said belt instead of title." And he said, what was the other? Oh, he said wrestler instead of superstar.
Yep.
Vince and him are smart enough.
Yep. To
do that, to get people talking. And the fact that they had, and that's why they also had Miz playing the perfect WWE guy, saying that's not a belt, it's a title. It's not wrestling, it's superstar. It was perfectly done, but it wasn't, Vince and them all put that together with Cody. I'm sure it was Cody's idea, but it was all proof.
Like they told Cody that he wasn't ready. Well, he went and made himself ready and came back and said, "Hey, now pay me. I'm ready."
Yep.
And
perfect example of that is Vince, Nick Khan, and who's the other one? Oh, Bruce Pritchard.
Yeah.
Took a plane, flew to see Cody.
Yeah. That proves that they wanted him.
He had the leverage this time.
Yep.
Well, Vince told him, he said, you proved it. You proved yourself. So, I mean,
He came back and look at, and this is what we see, right? Like, this is what we see is we got to get out of the mindset of when WWE releases you, that means that you're gone forever. Yeah. Because if you really want to, and it's not always right, it's not always a good situation, but like you see situations where guys leave and get better understanding of the business, and then they come back. If you want to talk about another good example besides Cody Rhodes, look at Drew McIntyre, for example. Drew McIntyre was somebody that got fired from that company and then came back and won the NXT championship, won the WWE championship at WrestleMania, carried the brand through the pandemic as the champion. Yep. It's just all about having a better understanding of a bit of the business and looking at professional wrestling as a business.
Yeah. It sucks when people get released, but that happens in a business. People got to quit looking at WWE as like they're the devil because they release somebody. Because sometimes that you can mutually part ways. It's not always, different situations. But like you said, look how many people have came back.
Yep.
And earned an opportunity.
And sorry to interrupt you, Tony, but I want to make this point real quick. Like, yes, you sign there with WWE and you get all that WWE exposure. You're on national television every week. In some cases, maybe not every week. Maybe you're in catering, you know. But like when you do get released from there, like everybody's looking to book you. Yep. You're gonna get after you get released. You're gonna get booked. Now, is AEW gonna rush to come and sign you? Well, there was a time where that was happening because Tony Khan was like, "Oh, well, this guy's released. Let me give him $1 million." You know what I'm saying? Like, but I think to be fair, Tony's smartened up a little bit and was like, okay, we can't sign every single talent that gets released, or else we're not going to have any homegrown talent, and we're going to be throwing money at all these guys. Because let's face it, if they come from WWE, their asking price is going to be higher than that of somebody that you're pulling from the indies, that you're pulling from MLW, that you're pulling from Impact or something like that. So you got to be financially smart too. And then Tony Khan, even though he is a fan of the business, he's also a businessman as well, and I think that he understands that he can't keep throwing millions of dollars at all these ex-WWE guys. He's got to build some guys on his own too. But like, that's my point, is that you're gonna get people. You're going to get promoters throwing themselves at you the moment that they realize that you've been cut from WWE, because your value is higher now for being in the WWE. You know what I'm saying?
No, most definitely. No doubt about it. And you're right, because some of the AEW guys who were getting pushed have cooled off. I mean, because Daniel Bryan and these other guys come in and getting TV time. Yeah. The guy, I'm terrible with names, guys. I'm sorry. The guy puts his hands in the pockets.
Orange Cassidy. Yeah, Orange Cassidy. Yeah.
He's definitely cooled off some. And and also the smaller guy that paints his face, it's with Sting.
Darby Allin. Yeah.
I think he cooled off a lot.
Oh, yeah.
Compared to where they were when these guys started coming in.
Sure.
Yeah. I'm not saying they won't get hot again. I think Darby Allin definitely will. Orange Cassidy, I don't know. He may hit his peak already. I mean, I don't know. We'll see. He's going to have another layer, or I don't know.
Yeah, but look at guys like, for example, like somebody who comes to my mind in this example is somebody like Shawn Spears. When he was Ty Dillinger and doing the 10 gimmick and NXT and WWE, everybody was like, "Oh God, he's getting held down in WWE. He can do so much more if he went somewhere else. He could be a main event player." Well, he went to AEW, and guess what? We all realize that Shawn Spears is not a main event player. Sometimes going to these different companies is also a reality check and an ego check to let you know that you're not as great as you think you are.
Yeah, you're not where you thought you were. At least at this point. Don't mean you can't get there.
But Hager hasn't done a lot. Jake Hager, he hasn't done a lot, really.
But I mean, he's been Jericho's henchman, and that's about it. And this is a guy that was a former world heavyweight champion in the WWE, and now he's just Jericho's henchman. And listen, I'm sure he doesn't care. He's getting paid a bunch of money. He he gets a spot on TV prominently all the time. I'm sure he's fine. But the point of the matter is that his trajectory in WWE was higher than what it is now in AEW. But it's just about how you look at the business. And I think that I think that somebody like him, like a Hager, is smart enough to be like, I don't need a belt to make me important. I am Chris Jericho's day one A1, and Chris Jericho is one of the best in this business and has been for a number of years. And because Chris Jericho is Chris Jericho, I'm always gonna have a spot on TV, and I'm always gonna have a nice paycheck. Don't think that nepotism doesn't come into play in professional wrestling, because it absolutely does.
Yes. I think the best signing, in my opinion, AEW's made. Not that Moxley was a bad one. I think it was a real good one, of course, and Daniel Bryan, but Bryan Danielson. But I think the best signing they've made is Steve Regal.
Regal. My! Well, look at the wealth of knowledge that you're getting with William Regal. I mean, I already knew that people were going to be falling all over themselves to try and get him, because he's one of the best minds in the business. And notice what I said there: minds. William Regal is probably not going to go out there and have a match anytime soon. He's going to continue to play the role that he's playing in. But see, this is the corner that this is the market that I'm trying to corner personally, is to be somebody that can contribute good stories and psychology and stuff. And I'm still learning myself. The thing that's good for me is that I've put myself in good situations and been around good enough people that are educating me and smarting me up to the business, like Sam Knight, like the Pope Elijah Burke, you know what I mean? Like Al Snow, all these great, like Ricky Morton, I've absorbed I've absorbed things from all of these people that have made me a better performer, that have made me a better sports entertainer. And William Regal is that. He is that. He's a great mind for the business. So the way that he's going to curate this whole Blackpool Combat Club thing is going to be done beautifully, because this guy was the NXT general manager for how many years?
Yeah.
Then he was the Raw general manager for a long time. I mean, this is a guy that understands the business. And that's an understatement, saying that he understands the business, So I agree with that. That was a huge signing for AEW to pick up somebody like that, because they got all the talents in the world, but they need guys that are going to be able to be like, hey, maybe 6 or 7 flips in a match isn't a good idea. You got to have those veterans in there that's going to challenge these young wrestlers' perceptions.
Or 17 super kicks in a row.
Yeah.
Exactly.
In 4 weeks, it took them 4 weeks with William Regal and Bryan Danielson and Moxley to make that Yuta a star.
Yep.
4 weeks, 2 matches in 4 weeks. They've made him a star. Yep. I mean, and that wasn't Tony Khan. That's Bryan Danielson, Moxley, and William Regal. That's a story that they put together. There's no doubt about it.
Oh yeah.
And
that's the beautiful thing. That's the beautiful thing about what Danielson and I'm gonna let you go. I'm sorry, but that's the beautiful thing about what Danielson, Regal, and Moxley are doing, is that Bryan Danielson made it a point to say from day one that his goal was to help create stars in AEW, and they've already set that precedent. Yeah.
I know when you said earlier that you think that more wrestlers will leave AEW, I'm gonna throw one out there, and there's a rumor going around, and I don't think it's going to happen at this time, but I do think Jon Moxley will go back to WWE someday.
You know what? If you would have told me that like a year or two ago, especially when he was doing all those podcasts and just totally like shooting on WWE, I would have been like, I don't know. I mean, I respect you as the OG, but I don't know if that's something that's going to happen. But I look at the Cody Rhodes situation, and the Cody Rhodes situation, it's always hard to be the first guy to do something, right? Yep. It's always hard to be that first person to do something that is looked at as, oh, that's edgy. That's something, because like nobody, like everybody's like, you're one of the executives of AEW and you're going back to WWE. You look like an absolute hypocrite. You shat on the WWE for how long, and now you're going back? Well, once again, like I said, it's always hard to be the first person to do something. Cody Rhodes has opened up that door to be like, hey, I don't want and Moxley can definitely come back and say, hey, I don't want to come back and be Dean Ambrose. I don't want to come back and be the Lunatic Fringe. I want to come back as John Moxley. I want to use this music. I want to have this. I want to have at least this amount of creative control over my character, because that was a big thing with Moxley when he left, is that he felt like he had no control. So like, I think that I think that it's something that we are going to see. I think that WWE has really put themselves in a situation where we're going to see guys come back to WWE and into that more structured environment, because this is a conversation I was having with Sam a few weeks ago, is that Cody Rhodes is I think Cody Rhodes is a genius. Yeah. I really do. I think Cody Rhodes is a genius. I think that he tripled his net worth. And I think that he has a lot less responsibilities now in the WWE that he had in AEW. Yeah. And let me ask you guys this. You know, if you are working your shoot job as a manager and you're getting paid, I don't know, I'm just putting it out here. You're getting paid $15 an hour, and you have all these responsibilities that are stressing you out. You're responsible for all these different employees. You're responsible for the customers. You're responsible for this. And it's like, dang, I'm only getting paid $15 an hour to do this. This is a lot. But then somebody else comes with the offer of $22 an hour, and the only thing you got to worry about is what you're doing at the job. Hey, not only are you making more money, but you're taking more stress off of yourself. Dude, that's a no-brainer.
And the other big thing about that too is that he still had a lot of responsibilities, but all creative control got taken away from him.
Yeah.
So you still got all these responsibilities, but one of the main things you want to be a part of was the creative control.
Yep.
And that's stripped away from you. But again, you got to still do all these responsibilities, because he said he never wanted another job in management ever again in the interview.
Oh, shoot, I say the same thing about my shoot job. They always want me to be a supervisor. I'm like, no, never.
Yeah, he says he don't want no part of that.
Yeah.
But see, one thing about Moxley, even though he said a lot of bad things, if you remember when he left WWE, they rolled out the red carpet for him.
Oh yeah, they did.
They did specials on did a special on WWE Network, aired it live. Yeah. His last match with the Shield, they reformed. I mean, they did everything, to try to,
keep him around.
Even though he didn't stay, they did everything they could to make it a good exit.
Yeah.
So I mean, and look at the money he could make, and look at the money WWE could make if he came back.
Oh, for sure. And like, it's just like with the Cody situation. They're not buying like a lot of these fans think that don't get it at all. And I love the fans. The fans are the reason that we do this. The fans are the reason why we're here. But like a lot of them just don't get it. Like as soon as they hear Cody Rhodes signing with WWE, they're like, well, he's gonna be Stardust. Well, he's gonna be in catering. He's gonna be low on the card. I can assure you that in negotiations, Cody Rhodes said, I want to be you guys are buying the American Nightmare gimmick. This is what you're buying. And for my father, I want to honor him by having a run with the WWE World Heavyweight Championship. If you and for him to come back and his first promo make his intentions clear that he wants to be the WWE World Heavyweight Champion, Universal Champion, Undisputed, Universal, so much damn names for this shit, Undisputed Universal Champion of the universe, I can almost guarantee you that contract included, oh well, I want to run as the WWE champion in that contract, or else they wouldn't let him go out there and cut the promo that he cut.
A guy I think is going to leave is MJF. I think when his contract's up, he's going to WWE.
Everybody's saying that.
He may not go, but he's going to make a lot of money wherever he goes.
Well, he's going to use that leverage against AEW if he does stay.
Oh, for sure.
He's going to get paid.
The thing about the thing that we all got to ask ourselves as fans and critics of the business, because all three of us are fans and all three of us are critics of the business, as we should be, because we've been, lifelong fans, and I think that needs to be respected by some of the boys and girls that are in the ring too, is that you can't think about everything just from the scope of what's happening in the ring, but sometimes you have to have fan perspectives too. Those are important because a fan can tell you whether they liked it or didn't like it or whatever, and they shouldn't be like, oh, well, you just say this because you're a mark. Like, let's show some respect to the fans too, you know. But like the question we have to ask ourselves is, what kind of MJF would we see with the WWE? Because we're not going to see the MJF that we see on AEW. It's going to be a little bit more watered down. Maybe not like super watered down, but like, how is he going to present himself? Because he can't just be another Miz, you know, he can't just be another Miz. He's got to stand out and be different. But also he's been given the ground, you know, the ruling and the say so at AEW to kind of be that loose cannon, say whatever, you know, that says the edgy things, whether we like it or not. He's that character. So how are we gonna correlate that? How are we gonna take that from AEW and make MJF work in the WWE?
I think MJF's smart enough to do it. I think he could. I think he could work his character around it. I think he's smart enough. I think they say he's a big student of the game.
I believe it. I believe it because he's one of the biggest names that people talk about in AEW on a regular basis. There's always buzz going around.
I want to put this out here. He used to train in Indiana.
Yeah.
I don't think people realize how much.
Here.
Yeah. I don't understand. I think people understand how much talent there is in the wrestling business from this state.
Oh, they don't get it. They don't.
And it could get even better if people would lose egos and work together.
Oh God, yeah. We talked about that a lot, haven't we? All?
Yeah.
God.
One thing I did want to hit on before we get out of here is
that's
WrestleMania. We've been talking about sports entertainment, so we got to talk about the biggest sports entertainment event of the year.
Yeah.
What did you think of this year's WrestleMania?
You know what? As somebody who has watched a lot of WrestleManias, not as much as the OG Tony, definitely not as much as Tony, but who's watched a lot of WrestleManias, I really, really enjoyed it. And we talked about it a little bit before the show. Once again, we had a real good conversation before we went on the air. Like, I don't even this is one of the most memorable WrestleManias, but I don't even think that the matches were like that great. I don't think there was I don't think there was a 5-star match on the show. Like at all. Like I don't think there was anything that qualified like, oh, that was a perfect, flawless match. But you know what? It didn't have to be. And this is once again a sports entertainment spectacle. And because of the sports entertainment spectacle, you had your celebrities there but you know what? I have never seen such a group of celebrity talents work the way that they did. I mean, with the exception of Bad Bunny, who wasn't there, because Bad Bunny is awesome. I mean, but man, you look at Logan Paul, who was just a heat magnet and really understood how to work the crowd and do some of the moves and stuff. But man, Pat McAfee was just an MVP. I mean, Indiana's own Pat McAfee was a superstar. I mean, and you got to look Pat McAfee. This guy is somebody who not only went out there and had a great match with Austin Theory, but he had a moment with Mr. McMahon. He had a moment with Stone Cold Steve Austin. Nobody's winning more than Pat McAfee. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? This guy's winning. I mean, even the Johnny Knoxville match, as goofy and silly as it was enjoyable. I enjoyed it. There was very few matches throughout this weekend that I was like, well, time for me to go take a piss break and get a snack. You know, like it was really enjoyable. I enjoyed it and my family enjoyed it. And I know a lot of awesome people who went out there to get booked and found opportunities there in Mania Week. Because, you know, Mania Week is now more than just WrestleMania in the weekend. It's like a wrestling week of everything. Oh, yeah. You had Ring of Honor having their super card show there. A lot of indie shows were there. But it was a great weekend, and like a lot of moments were created. And that's what, when I think of wrestling, and I'm sure you guys will agree with that, I think moments.
Yes.
Things that you're going to remember forever. The moves are awesome. I will never take anything away from the moves, but there's never a time except for a few moves here and there, like maybe the Randy Orton RKO on Seth Rollins from WrestleMania a few years ago, or the Evan Bourne shooting star press RKO that he did. I don't remember moves, I remember moments. You know what I'm saying?
You remember like Daniel Bryan main event in WrestleMania.
Yep.
You know what I mean? You remember that. Him and the fans made WWE change their minds and make him
an A+ player, because all they was doing was saying he was a B+ player. I mean, it's the stories, it's the moments, it's the it's the fans, the stories, and the moments are what make you legendary.
Juice Incredible said, "I'm not a WWE fan, but I loved Mania too."
And I love Jushin. And trust me, all the years that I've known him, he has been one of the biggest critics I know of WWE. So for him to say that he loved Mania really speaks volumes, because like it was. I've been critical of Mania, and I'm like, dang, I really felt like they left more meat on the bone at some WrestleManias. This WrestleMania, I do not feel that way. I feel like that they did a really great job with this WrestleMania. And honestly, even with Jericho not coining the phrase, but making sure that we all know that sports entertainment is not a derogatory term, by making it a derogatory term in storyline. I think that we saw a changing of the guard at WrestleMania that lets you know that we are now going to be in the storytelling era of professional wrestling, because everything comes back. Everything that's old ends up coming around and becomes new again. We had our flippy stuff, our guys coming out, our ruthless aggression era where everybody came out in black trunks. And I'm like, well, tonight's the night that I'm going to kick your ass and take the championship. And on this very night, in this very moment, this is going to be the moment. You guys remember that, that cookie cutter promo. Cookie cutter promo. You got to think outside the box when you're telling stories. And I think we see a changing of the guard, where storytelling is now the end thing, where it was the moves and the flippy shit and everything. Now we see a changing of the guard where people want to see more stories, and we got to follow that wave. And this is going to be a great time for professional wrestling, because it's going to create more moments.
Yeah, night one had big moments. You had Stone Cold match, a 14-minute match. You ever thought?
Hold on, Dad. Could you believe that Stone Cold took that suplex from the concrete?
Dude, I got scared. I'm not even gonna lie. Because I'm a huge Stone Cold fan.
He came out. He looked good. I'm like, man, he looks good.
Yeah.
I never thought he was going to do a 15-minute match and take the bumps that he took.
I didn't imagine in a million years that he was gonna do that. And I'm actually, and this is exactly what we're talking about, the storytelling, because I was like, okay, this is gonna be great. Maybe here's what I was expecting. They're gonna have a dialogue, go back and forth. Maybe they'll come together and say, you know what? I like you, Kevin. Let's share a beer. Let's crack a beer together. And then they start drinking, some Broken Skull, beer, some brewskis and whatnot. And then boom, stunner on Owens, close the show. That's it. That's what I expected. The fact that they swerved me and not only had a KO show, but then it turned into a match made that whole situation even better. It was closure for Stone Cold Steve Austin. It was great for Kevin Owens, who can not only say that he main evented a WrestleMania, but he main evented a WrestleMania with his hero, Stone Cold Steve Austin. I mean, that's a moment.
Yeah,
that's a moment.
And then bringing him back out the next night was genius.
Oh, I didn't think he was going to see him again.
Yeah.
I thought I was like, okay, I got my Stone Cold in on night one. I'm happy. I'm satisfied. But then night two, they said, you know what? Let's go out there and have one of the baddest SOBs in WWE history not only come out and stun Austin Theory, stun Pat McAfee, and give us a whole ton of nostalgia by going in there and having a moment with Mr. McMahon and having one of the worst stunners in history, because and it was almost perfect. It was almost perfect. Like I'm actually glad that the stunner was as shitty as it was, because the entire program that McMahon and Stone Cold have had, every single time that Stone Cold hit McMahon with the stunner, it was always a shitty stunner. Yeah. So they just followed the story.
And Stone Cold was having so much fun out there.
Oh yeah,
having a good time. and
Yeah,
that
he's on the
made
black.
it. But again, on night one, you had those big moments. You had Cody Rhodes, of course, coming
Yeah.
out,
Yep.
and Bianca win the championship. So that night was the night of moments.
Yes.
Where I think the second night was just a whole lot of fun.
Oh yeah.
It was just a whole lot of fun. And so, I mean, I think they give everybody a little something.
I think so too.
Yeah,
I really think so too.
Anybody that says WrestleMania wasn't good, to me, would have to be just a plain hater.
And you guys know just as well as I do, there's literally thousands and thousands of fans that will not watch WWE, but then say that it's bad based off a headline that they read, or maybe a clip that they saw of a very small part that people are cherry picking. They'll cherry pick things that are said on the show, or cherry pick things that aren't good, and then put you in that mindset that the entire show was bad.
Did you see the views that they got on all the different platforms?
Yes.
Yeah, it blew the Super Bowl away.
Exactly. This is what we're talking about. This is exactly it. Is when I say there's a changing of the guard, that sports entertainment is really about, even though a lot of people there's still a lot of people that are having trouble like switching gears and switching their brain to accepting sports entertainment being a thing. Because I'm not a wrestler. I'm a professional wrestling manager and a commentator, just like you guys are commentators and podcasters such as myself. But because of the role that I play on screen, because of some of the moments that I've had with some of these talents, I do consider myself to be at least a sports entertainer. Because I try to make everything that I do and everything that I'm involved in entertaining. And it's awesome because I've had these moments in Vegas, and I've had these moments, I had that moment at OVW, that a lot of these talents look at Hollywood House and say, you know what? I accept you as a sports entertainer. I accept you as somebody in the business that I feel comfortable, cutting a segment with. Because before that, there'd be a lot of people that'd be like, I don't really know who you are. I don't know if I want to cut a promo with you. But now, because of what I've done, there's more talents, wrestlers and talents and stuff that'll be like, oh, Hollywood, yeah, let's get the camera going. What's the motivation? What are we doing? So like what I do, I'm a proud sports entertainer. I really am.
Yeah, WWE, that's a thing that a lot of people are bad about. That they've went out and they're getting a lot of these athletes and they're training them themselves. Yeah. And it makes perfect sense because they want to train sports entertainers.
Yeah.
But they're athletic. And another thing with the athlete, they've trained their whole life. So them coming in and training shouldn't be an issue.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it makes sense. And another thing is that and because I look at the classes that come in, they're taking about half and half. They're taking about half of athletes and about half of people from the independent scene.
Yeah.
But I think one thing they've had a lot of trouble with some of the independent wrestlers is they come in and they don't want to listen.
Well, here's the thing about the independent wrestlers when they brought them in, and here's really why I feel like WWE went away from mainly signing a lot of, because they were signing a lot of independent guys under Triple H's umbrella. Ring of Honor was WWE's unofficial developmental territory for many years.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? But here's the thing why I feel like they went away from signing a lot of independent talent, because you have a lot of these independent talents that will get with their agent or get with a Bruce Pritchard or Laurinaitis or whoever it may be, whoever is telling them what to do, and they're like, I'm not going to do that. That's stupid. I know how the business works. That's stupid. I'm not going to do that. Or they know what their rate is. They know what they should be getting paid. Or they're so protective of their character that they won't do that silly, goofy thing that they think is going to make them feel stupid or look stupid. With the talent that they're signing now, the collegiate talent, these are people, as you said, Tony, people that are already well trained, well versed in making their body look good, having good stamina, being able to go the distance. Only thing that WWE has to teach them how to do is the nuances of wrestling and how to wrestle in a professional wrestling way.
Basically, teach them to be a sports entertainer.
Exactly. But these guys, but these guys and girls that they sign out of college are lumps of clay. They don't know how the professional wrestling business works, because they weren't brought up in the professional wrestling business. They came up in amateur wrestling, or they came up in track, or they came up in gymnastics, and so they don't know like the nuances of wrestling. So WWE is actually, you hate to say it because you want to support wrestling or whatever, but actually at its core, WWE is smart for what they're doing in a business aspect, because you're paying less for these talents out of college that you would pay somebody that's been wrestling for 15, 16 years already, and they know what they're worth. You don't have to pay that to somebody right out of college. You can pay them significantly less. They're going to listen and tell you what to do. They're going to listen and do what you tell them to do, that is. And they're lumps of coal to be built and molded into what you want them to do. We might not all like WWE's new formula of how they're developing talent, but from a business aspect, it's actually very smart.
One thing that Billy Ray says, the WWE will teach you the right way to wrestle in the ring.
Mm-hmm.
And now, of course, it's a stricter formula than AEW's formula and stuff, and he understands that. But they'll teach you the right way. One of the main things they're going to teach you how to sell.
Yep.
And he said that's one of the big problems he sees in AEW. People don't sell.
Well, yeah, because they come from that fast-paced, breakneck indie style where it's like super kick, get up, clothesline, get up, let's do flips, let's do choreographed stuff, and then stare each other down while the crowd, cheers us. And like I don't know if you guys remember, I think it was Ricochet before he got signed to WWE, and it was in New Japan with Will Ospreay. And it was, if you haven't checked it out, go check it out on YouTube. Very choreographed back and forth, and like so many like old school wrestling fans ripped it apart because of how choreographed it looked. And like I personally didn't have an issue with it until I started getting around people like your Elijah Burks, you know what I mean? And saying like, hey, was it cool looking? Yeah, it looked very cool. But like, professional wrestling isn't always about looking cool. It's supposed to be gritty. It's supposed to be a fight. It's supposed to be ugly. Like we want to make you feel like this fight, even though everybody knows that it's a work, but we try our best to make it look like it's real. You know what I'm saying?
Well, look how McAfee sold.
Oh yeah. I loved how he sold that.
He killed me when he was laying there on the ground pouring that beer in his mouth. Oh,
yes. Yes.
The facial expressions from Becky Lynch and Bianca Belair made that match. It wasn't the moves; it was their facial expression and their selling that made the match. It made it a really good match. Maybe as good as match of the. It was definitely one of the top matches of the weekend.
I think it was one of the best, if not the best, match of the weekend.
Yeah,
McAfee might be their most over baby face that they have.
Man, it's so real because
that crowd singing his song the whole match. They were singing that entrance theme his whole match.
Yes,
it was great.
Here's the thing about Pat McAfee that's so special, and like guys like me, you guys like the marvelous Mr. Bell, the curator. We're all coming up in a way that Pat McAfee came up in the business. Yes, we know that he had a great NFL career, but that doesn't matter because this is a completely different line of work. He started off as a podcaster, as a talk show host who got drunk one night and bought a ring online. And from that, the fruit of his labor ended up being a WrestleMania moment.
Got trained by Rip Rogers. I mean,
Rip Rogers. Shout out to Rip Rogers.
Everything he needed to do to try to reach his dream.
Exactly. I mean, look at me for example. This is why I draw influence from somebody like Pat McAfee, and I really, really just love that man. Like, because I started my podcast just because I was bored and wanted to talk wrestling with my friends. And what came of it? An OVW appearance I never imagined in my entire life, and having guys like Ricky Morton critique my work, having guys like Al Snow and Doug Basham critique my work, having guys like Elijah Burke critique my work. Like, I never would have imagined that 3 years ago when I started In Your House. This business is a business of opportunities.
Well, just like I've been doing, I started the podcast stuff doing the sports and wrestling about a year ago.
Yeah.
Basically for the same reason, because of my medical issues I have.
Yeah.
I wasn't working. I was bored.
Yep.
Well, now, the other night we were sitting at Hooters with Doc Gallows talking.
Exactly.
I mean, then we were at a show. We got to see Ace Austin.
Yeah.
We've got to do stuff that I never thought a year ago that we'd be doing.
Yep.
I'll say it again. this business is a business of opportunities if you do it the right way and respect the business. And I think that we've respected the business, and that's why we're having all these amazing opportunities come our way.
Yeah, and that's what Vince McMahon's always told people from back in the 85 and all that. When he started, he said, "I'll give you an opportunity."
Yep.
That's what he's always told the wrestlers. He said, "I'll give you an opportunity," and that's what he's always said.
It's up to you what you do with it.
Yeah,
Yep.
it's up to you what you do.
Okay, I hate it, but we're gonna have to go.
Yeah, that's right.
I have a show on the. I have a sports show I got to do at 1.
Totally.
But before we get out of here, plug all your stuff, brother.
Absolutely. I truly appreciate that. And I truly appreciate Chris and the OG Tony having me on. I always I'm sad the conversation's ending because I really enjoyed chatting with you guys. But I understand you have obligations and you're running a whole network here. And I definitely respect what you guys are doing. As far as what Hollywood House has coming up, of course, you could always listen to me and the curator, the marvelous Mr. Bell, every week on In Your House as we critique the mainstream professional wrestling product. We talk independent wrestling, and we talk about our live journey as we're going through it in real time as professional wrestling managers and sports entertainers. That's every week. We usually drop on Thursday. Sometimes it's a little bit later because of schedules, but we've come to find Thursday morning to be a good time to record and either drop that afternoon or that evening. So that's In Your House, HOWSC, on Facebook, on Twitter, on Instagram, In Your House, HOWSE, where you can catch Hollywood House and Sam Knight and Paragon in the set. Household Productions. I'm going to be at DCCW, this great show that we're going to be having, Bearcat Rumble, this Saturday. That's in Muncie. I'm going to see what kind of trouble I can cause with Terry Coons to make him mad at me again, like I always do, because I'm so good at that, and see what me and the twins can get into at this great show, at this great event for such a great cause. After that, me and Sam and Paragon are going to be making our way. This is going to be, I want to make sure I get the date right here. That's right, the 23rd, is we're going to be in Fort Wayne for Heroes and Legends, for what is going to be a great event with so much great talent. Guys like Chris Adonis are going to be there. Bob Backlund is going to be there. Kylie Ray is going to be there. Smiley Kylie Ray. A lot of NWA representation on the show. Santino Marella is going to be there. I mean, it's just going to be, guys, I'll spend the rest of whatever time I have left telling you who's going to be on the show because it's freaking stacked. It's really an amazing show. Guys, definitely go there to Fort Wayne, Indiana for Heroes and Legends. Then after that, I'll be taking a week off to spend some time with the family. But then on the 7th, I'm going to be in Columbus. That's the 7th of May. I'm going to be in Columbus for Emerge. I'm so happy to see that Emerge is coming back. Home is where the hurt is, as they're going to be back in Columbus, Indiana, their home, which is their home city for their promotion. And I'm going to see what kind of trouble I can cause for the set and get under Chris Lowe and their commentary team's skin, because I've gotten really good at that as well. And then on the 14th, we got another big DCCW show that's going to be coming up. That is May 14th. That is going to be seeing my friend, my brother, and the man who I produce his 5-star podcast. That's the Pope Elijah Burke, the NWA's Pope Elijah Burke. He's going to be there at DCCW in Muncie for May 14th. Of course, I'm hoping to see Gonzo's Wrestling Room there. I'm sure you guys will be there, because anytime the three of us get together, we just talk each other's ear off, and it's a great time. So I got a lot of stuff going on down the works. I'm working on my next OVW appearance as we speak. So I want to get back there sometime this summer. I definitely want to give a shout out to Sam Knight, to Paragon, to Mickey Midas, to the curator, the marvelous Mr. Bell, my guys, my dudes. We've been doing all this together. The highlight reel as well. Excited to be able to work with those young cats again and see their growth. And yeah, that's everything. I got a lot coming up. It's going to be a very busy next couple of weeks for me, but it doesn't feel like work when you love what you're doing. So this is going to be a great next month for the director, and I'm super excited. Guys, once again, thank you so much for having me on to this great show, Gonzo Sports Room, Gonzo's Wrestling Room, and you guys keep killing it, because you guys are definitely setting a standard for what a podcast should be for professional wrestling in the Midwest, because I've seen a lot of podcasts come and I've seen a whole lot of podcasts go, but I really do feel like in my heart of hearts that GWR is here to stay.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, we appreciate that. Let's see. As far as us, we're live Monday through Friday, 3 p.m. Eastern on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch with Easy Money, a sports betting show. That show is also live on the All Sports All Plays ASAP network. You can find it on their Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, Twitter. So there's like 8 channels you can watch the show on. So we're easy to find. Plus, it's in podcast form on all major podcast platforms. We do have our pro wrestling podcast, G.W.R. Gonzo's Wrestling Room. New episodes drop every Sunday at 9 a.m. So be on the lookout for that. You can find it on all major podcast platforms. I love them shirts. We'll go get me one of those shirts. But yeah, you can find it on all major podcast platforms, and you can find the video version on our YouTube page at Gonzo Sports Room. Please hit that subscribe button while you're over there. If you're watching on Facebook or Twitch, please hit the like and follow buttons. Rate and review the podcast. We greatly appreciate it. Dad, you got anything?
Nope. Have a great day, everybody.
I appreciate everybody joining us. We'll also be live tonight at 11 p.m. Eastern with the GSR Gonzo Sports Room. So come join me tonight. A little bit late, but I found that late night's a good time to talk some sports. So,
yep.
But thanks for joining us. We will see you guys here. Actually, I'll be on here in about 5 minutes on another channel.
You
All
guys
right,
later.
peace.